Can you identify things like that in your life where you have acted that way and thought that way and denied and rationalized and blamed? Take those concepts from anywhere in your life, bring them to the problem that you're trying to solve right in this moment is a really healthy, positive, honest thing to do. Stop looking at the sun and look in the mirror and just say, what is the truth about this situation? What is the honest reality? Because we all have stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. We all have concepts of what is happening in our life that are built up, and some of it is things that we develop, and some of it is what the culture is telling us. And it all gets mixed into this big story where I say, like, I am this way. This is how we end up living in so much denial, is we like build up these stories to try to explain what is happening, but the story isn't really real. The story is kind of made up based on different inputs we have. That's part of what's hard, is to look in the mirror, because sometimes you look in the mirror, and I'm meaning like the metaphorical mirror, really. Like, does this story actually stand up anymore? Like, what is actually true here? And if we want to move forward and like away from some sort of problem or process, how do you own the situation? Means like rewriting the story. Like if you were to write a new story now, or you're to take your life right now as like a blank page and say, forget all this ideas about what's happened and choices I'm making and how does it go, and say, this is like a new day. We're moving in a new direction. How would you write the story going forward? What would be the lines that you would write that you would tell yourself about what's true? Like if you were really in charge, think of it this way. If you were, which of course you are, if you were really in charge of your own life and you could actually just write the story, like writing a book, and you were in the chapter where the hero of the story, or we could call it the anti-hero. Anti-hero is just a flawed protagonist, right? Which we all are. That's our story. We are all fallible people trying to make our best way through life. So how would we take our anti-hero? What would they do to move forward powerfully and thoughtfully? I think that one of the big barriers in doing that is self-sabotage. Have you ever experienced this? Like where you are actively doing things that are undermining goals that you're trying to achieve? You can do it in many different sort of things. You're trying to, probably most germane to what we are doing here, right? Like you're trying to move toward a health goal. You have a series of practices and things that you know are healthy, life-giving, thoughtful practices to do, but then do you do the opposite of that, walk in the opposite direction? And you say, oh, everything was going well until this point where I started doing the opposite again, and then we walk back. Like we walk forward for a while, and then we walk back. And then we say, why do we do that? The thing of it is, isn't it, do you ever get to that point, like things going well, but there's a point where it turns, and in that moment, see, that's like the critical moment. Whereas like in the moment, we're making a decision to turn around and walk in the other direction. God, I know I have done that so many times. And right in that moment, doesn't it feel like the right thing to do? Like this is what I'm thinking to myself right now. In the moment, doesn't it feel right? I've had thoughts sitting there where I was like, right in the very last thought that I thought was like, man, like things are really going well. Like I'm really moving forward. I'm taking positive action. And then in the very next moment, make the decision where I stop doing that and start going the other way. And I've even have the thought in that moment where I start walking the other direction. I'm like, yeah, I know it. I know I've been moving this way. I know it's been going so good. And isn't this where I should just keep doing that? But then it just feels right to stop, right? That's the struggle. That's the self-sabotage. This is what I've identified personally this week in my own, issues, right? The self-sabotage is there right at that critical moment. It's like a mental defense mechanism. Some center in here likes the status quo. Some part of our cognitive process just wants things to be stable. It doesn't like change. And change can be very difficult because change is like saying no to the status quo. And it opens up different possibilities. And those possibilities is like, it could be better and it could be worse. And some calculation in there is like, why don't we just split the difference and we'll just keep things how they are. And then that's how we avoid something worse. It's like loss aversion, right? People are more afraid of losing something than they are of gaining something of equal value as loss aversion. And so even if things could be much better by changing, because they could also be worse, even if it's not as likely, people will still resist change. It's like, you can see some logic to it, right? To protect yourself. Why in that moment do we make this decision, the turn, maybe we call it the turn. Why is that? And is it a defense mechanism? I came up with two primary ways that self-sabotage is like helping us. And so if we can get into these mindsets, maybe it is the thing that can help you understand it so that you can navigate through it, overcome it, and move forward. The first is that on some subconscious level, we are afraid that if we don't turn around, that we'll actually be successful in what we're trying to do, and that we really don't want that, and that we're really not sure if we can handle it if we were successful in doing it. We avoid finding out either of those potentially unpleasant things, and we turn around right at that point. We self-sabotage so that we don't have to figure out if the success we're looking for, if it actually isn't what we want, or actually makes things worse, or we can't handle it. And I think that can be a powerful realization. Okay, so if part one I think of as kind of forward-looking, self-sabotage is like protecting us from moving forward, to protect us from some sort of emotional experience that we maybe aren't ready for or don't really want. What function is the dysfunction serving, right? If we have some sort of dysfunction in our life, and you say, we're making decisions that on some level are actually keeping it going, like, is that also serving us in some way? And like, so some center in there, maybe in there or in here, you know, it doesn't want to let go of it. You want to keep that cycle, is like serving us in some fashion. Letting go of things that don't serve us, very hard to do, right? Especially if it's not cut and dry, right? If it's 100% clear, this is only hurting me and not helping me, easier maybe to let go of it. What if it's not clear? What if it's 60-40, right? Where it's like 60% hurting me and 40% I like it. You know, food issues, right? Out of balance dietary things. Those aren't cut and dry 100% bad, you know? I think those are 60-40 sort of things where it's like really in the big picture, the 60% is like this train is on the wrong track. It's not going in the direction we want. But like 40% is like, but the view's pretty good here, you know? So it's like, I don't want to get off quite yet. Okay, so the other side of it, I think if that's looking forward, then the other one is looking backwards, where if we're getting to a point, we're walking down our metaphorical path, we're hitting this turn, it's like, if we keep walking forward, we realize we actually can change. The potential to move in a different direction is real. It's within my control. It's within the realm of possibilities that I could actually do. And I'm actually getting close to doing it. Like with just a few more steps and we're walking, is that it can take us to a place of regret. If we don't take those steps, the self-sabotage protects us from feeling regret about the fact that we could have always done it all along and didn't. if we don't take those steps, you might think to yourself, I couldn't have done it anyway. And then you're back in the cycle. You start rationalizing. You're back in denial. And we do that whole loop again. That's the turn. This is that critical point. You have to forgive yourself. You have to have grace and acceptance to yourself to realize these are ego tricks. These are mental constructs that are being put in here by something, some center in there that is just trying to protect the status quo. It's trying to keep everything stable so that you don't have to change. And this rationalization, that's another rationalization. If we don't take the next steps, we don't have to have any regrets. Okay? And then that's powerful. That's what makes it so difficult. You get through that space by having grace and forgiveness for yourself and recognizing that this is a very difficult situation. And it's actually incredibly powerful to face it, to look in the mirror, stop blinding ourselves, look at the reality of the situation, the steps that you have taken to get to this place. When you're getting to that place, you don't just experience this sort of idea at some place that isn't important. You come to these sort of decisions at critically important places. We want to build the most powerful mindset that we can. And so if we're looking at the mirror today and we're saying, okay, I see that there's grace and that there's no rules and that I don't have to beat myself up or live with regret, right? This is how we get over all these things. There's just the reality and the potential of change, and tomorrow and the rest of the future is a blank canvas. I can write the new story and I can walk in the direction that I choose. I'm going to stop being manipulated by advertising and money. I'm going to stop being confused by 1,000 people telling me that I can't achieve the goal that I set. And I'm going to take ownership of it. I'm not going to live in denial. I'm not going to blame anybody else. And I'm just going to take the steps that I can take. And knowing that there's no guarantees that anything works on any specific time frame or thing. But to be true to yourself, the solution pretty much to any of our problems, but especially to a weight problem, it's inside of us. And it is, in fact, us. Tell yourself right now, I am the solution. You identify a problem in your life. Okay? That's the difficult side of it. The positive side of it, then, to go through it, recognizing issues is like the hardest part. To stop looking at the sun and look in the mirror. And then to realize you have everything you need. Everything that you need is inside of you. You are a strong and powerful, courageous being, full of strength. And you have done the very difficult work already of turning and looking in the mirror. And you can take a step forward when you get to that space. You can do it. And you know that you can do it. And it's like taking a cold shower. Or is like, oh, we say, is that not comfortable in the moment? But then you get out and you're like, I am refreshed and alive. Oh man. And that gets the good vibes flowing, you know? And you can step into that space and just realize this sort of mindset, okay? It can be difficult to look back and reflect on all these things. But where I want to turn this whole thing is to just so positive, to realize you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to consume anything. The energy that you need to power you in a weight loss space already inside of you, that's the thing. The problem is the solution. The obstacle is the way. The mountain is the path. You head right through it and you use it up as you walk through it. And then, so that's like a physical reality in the body. It's also a mental and emotional reality that as you're at that difficult place, that turn that we've described, you realize, okay, very few people even trying to get to that point. Most people, you know, say they're not having awareness. So to get to that place, you realize, okay, you are building out and developing awareness. It can be freeing if you stay the course. This is absolutely the case.